everybody, welcome back to Same Same But Different. I'm Amira and today I am joined with Ivan. Hello, moyen.
Moyen, hello. Hey.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I found you on Instagram actually a while back when you were publishing your Instagram stories talking about a very traumatic event. And that kind of was the beginning, and we got to know each other, and we've had some discussions on these very big and important issues. So first of all, thank you so much for speaking up, because this is a very sensitive and painful topic. So sadly, a lot of the time in our society, big issues and sensitive issues like this are just swept under the carpet, and people expect to just, leave them alone, not talk about them. I don't know if they expect these issues to solve themselves, but sadly, it doesn't work. So thank you for speaking up about these big topics. And also, you are not just speaking up on them, but you also suffered a terrible trauma in your life. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your situation?
So, hey everyone, my name is Leal Martins. I'm an international business student. And the story that you've been talking about was about sexual assault. I was sexually abused by my doctor. First time it happened when I was 18. And then the last time when it happened was 22. At that time, I didn't knew what he was doing to me, the way he was touching me. And for me, I was questioning myself at that time if it's rape or not rape. And because of my sexuality and everything, I was telling myself, maybe this is what I wanted. And everyone was telling me it's just my mind. This is not happening. So I was questioning everything. So after when it happened again, when I was 22, and the way he treated me, touched me, that was like a waking up call for me. And when I talked with my best friend about it, that's when she told me, like, oh, this happened to my ex-boyfriend too and other people. And then that's how I realized, okay, this is sexual abuse. This is not just a normal doctor procedure.
What kind of reactions have you gotten from people, from all kinds of people, when you have told them your story? Has it been positive? Have you also gotten negative comments? What is your experience?
I have just one real positive feedback. Like when I was 22, when I told my best friend about it, and she was like, she believed me immediately, and she was like, don't go there. That was like, for me, like positive reaction. But looking everything else, like most of it was negative. Most of it was people not believing me. We are back with a different location.
So we've switched rooms. Okay, so Ivan, you were saying that most of the reactions have actually been negative.
I think that the reason why most of people reacted the way they did was because they didn't want it to believe, that it was true, specifically because sexual abuse, rape is still a taboo theme in our society. It's been spoken more of since Me Too movement. But still, it's a taboo theme. People don't speak about it. There's still victim blaming, slut shaming happening with women specifically and everything. My friends, they were overwhelmed with it, Imagine, like, they know me as the positive Ivan and like the super energetic person, like always smiling, and now I come with like a thing that is so wrong in people's minds. They've rather don't believe it. They rather question it and be like, are you sure this happened to you? Is not maybe something you imagined and it's not actually happened? They've rather ask these things than like saying, oh, I'm here to support you and everything, which is like super harmful. If you first thing you hear is like from people, from your friends, your best friends, where you're going for advice sometimes, or maybe just like to share your story. And the first thing you get to hear is like, are you sure this happened to you? Their opinion will play a role afterwards if you will do something against your rapist or sexual assault, your abuser, or if you will just hide it for years and years and years to come.
And how did you personally process everything? Were you able to talk about it immediately, or did you need time for yourself?
When I was 18 and everything, I pushed it aside. Like, I just didn't want to talk about it. Because like already a lot was happening for me at that time was like, I can't question this. This is too much. Put it on the rock. Forget about it. Like we always do.
Yeah.
Forget about it. And then it happened again with 22. And then I just realized, and then when I realized this is not what it is what it is, I went home during that week. So I missed 2 weeks of university. And then when I told people about that, and then one of my friends told another friend that they didn't believe me, that it happened to me. And then like when I heard from a third person that one close friend of mine said that, that was when everything crashed down. That was like, for me, I was crying, having like panic attacks, like anxiety was kicking in, everything. And then I just like, to one point I've realized I need to change. Like this is not going out well. I need to do something. And then it was like April 2020, I think, like, and I was not able to talk with my parents about it because my parents were not supportive at the beginning about it. Like a lot of friends ditched me. Like I was left on the floor. It's sad that it happens a lot of times to a lot of people. I'm happy that it happened to me because of that, I've learned to stand up for myself. I've learned to believe in myself first, in my story first, what happened to me, to believe in myself first before other people's could. I needed to stand up for myself and learn to not let other people's opinion affect me, because I deep down know what it was, because it was sexual abuse, it was rape. What happened there is not correct. And since that happened, in that time, I will tell you, yes, it was hell, like crying, having panic attacks and everything. Even when I came home and like nobody believed me, like it was insane. Now, when I think, I'm happy that it happened, that I learned this message, because now if someone comes to me, if the whole world would turn out to be saying like, no, I don't believe you, this is wrong, I would say, I don't care, like, because I deep down know what is true, and I'm going to listen to myself instead of listening to others.
What were people saying the most? That you were overreacting, or that you were lying about it, or that you misunderstood? Not that I see.
Oh, yeah, misunderstanding. From my case, it was a lot of misunderstanding, and that it was not true, and that it was completely something else what happened, and that it was normal procedure. I get a lot of the question, how can it be that he still does his job so long? Like, and nobody said against. Of course, first of all, he's a doctor. In society, doctors are seen as super high, like, people standards, people that have like ethics, they're super ethical. They will never do that kind of stuff. And if they do it, you don't want to go up against a doctor. A doctor is in the society, like, pyramid. It's top on, like, it's super high with politicians and everything. You are like a middle class citizens, or even lower class citizens, like, you have nothing to say, much. And so other people are afraid to go up against him, because then it's your voice against them.
Yeah.
And then it's even men, and men don't want to talk about it, because then they feel like it's their masculinity and other issues about them, that they let do it. They're weak. So I always say, like, there's a lot of factors that play in, why nobody has done anything about it.
What is the reaction you would look for, or you would hope to get?
Before you go talking to someone, a victim, to go talk to someone, specifically in this era where this is still taboo theme, let them know not to share anything until you end your story. Like, that they just listen from the beginning till the end, and you tell them exactly, if you want feedback, if you want to know if it is true, if you want to know, or if you just want them to listen. Because that's a lot of things, victims don't explicitly communicate what they want from others when they share their story. Because for me, it was, I want to know if it was true or not. For others, maybe it might be, hey, I just want to share this with you. And it's important that you then tell them what you want. And then for other people, I think it's very important from their perspective. If this is the first time you're hearing this, think twice or 3 times before you ask something or you say something, before you question them in certain parts, And specifically, I always say, listen. I think that's the most important thing. Listen and share support. Tell them you're here for them. And instead of always saying, I'm sorry, this happened to you, I'm so sorry, just come with more an empowering language. Like, thank you for sharing this. You're such a brave person, inspirational, strong person, for even in coming up and sharing this with me. And I really feel honored that you trust me enough that you're sharing this story. If you hear something like that, it's totally different narrative than when I tell you, I'm sorry. Ask victims, how can I help you? You
Yeah.
know, is there anything? Because I always say, like, a lot of people or friends think they need to play the therapist. For therapy, there are specialist therapy, like therapists. They
Exactly.
specialize for that. Don't do their job. And I always say to the victims, don't expect your friends to do that job. That's not their job.
No.
That's not their responsibility. They're not responsible for healing you.
No, very well said. Definitely. And this brings me on to the second point that I wanted to talk about, in that this happened to you, a male. So as a man dealing with sexual assault, is it different in some way? Not in what you experience, but maybe in the way it's perceived or reacted to from society. And I bring this up. Why? Because a while ago I watched the series called Glee. Have you ever seen that show?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, the show, you know, whatever. But one thing I do give to Glee is that it dealt with some very real topics. And I remember one episode, one of the Glee kids, a guy, confessed to his friends that he was raped by his babysitter, who was a woman, and she was older than him, and he was like 14 years old. And two of his friends were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool! Yeah, high five! You know, you stud."
Oh.
And it kind of dealt with that issue about how that is not like what? That is not the reaction to have. And that brings me to my question. Do you feel that there is like a complete difference with male versus female in this topic?
I think it depends. Like with males, I'm going in the male direction first. Like with females, it's like slut shaming first. Like that's a like you're slut shamed, you're not believed. There's like the most top. It's your fault, slut shaming, and like you were drunk, it's your fault. It's more like your fault, and the slut shaming part that's like super big, and like you're making this up. This is not true. For males, it's more like it depends if you were raped from a female or from a male. You know, like me, I was raped from a male. I know one of my friends, they were raped from their ex-girlfriends. And while they were so much under alcohol consumption, they fell asleep, and the next day the whole room smelled like alcohol, and he saw a condom on the floor. And then I remember when he told that the friends, that was the same reaction. Everybody's like, wow, you didn't need to do anything to have sex. How cool is that? And you could see really in his face how everything dropped, because it was not consent. He didn't ask for it. He didn't wanted it. So it was not okay to happen. And like for everyone to be like, yeah, be cool, you know, you start to question yourself in that moment, because that's the first reaction you get again. That's why I always say the first reaction counts. That's the most important thing that will determine how you will perceive it after in the future for a long period of time. For male, when they get raped by a woman, it's said like, oh, you're so cool, like you didn't need to do anything. You're lucky, you know, you get girls without doing anything, even in your sleep. But when you're raped like from a male position, and like when a male rapes you or a female, you have like this pressure that you feel like you're not man enough, or you were not strong enough, or you were like weak, you know, you didn't have any strength to fight it against it. Although we know, and it has been proven by science, that when something traumatic happens at you, your whole body shuts down.
Of course.
That's why a lot of people just freeze. That's like that's trauma. Trauma is that. I will never understand what a victim went through.
No.
Any sexual abuse victim, even the ones that went to the same doctor, because I'm not them. I didn't grow up like them. I didn't see the world like they saw. You know, I don't have the same brain like them, the same thoughts. So they experienced rape in a total different way that I've experienced it. Even if we were raped by the same doctor and sexually abused by him, I still don't know how they feel, but I can relate, and I can still have empathy. Just because you don't have the power to understand how someone, and because when you say understand how you feel, you are saying I 100% understand how you feel. You know, understanding is not just 90%, it's 100%. And that's something I always say, you can't understand, but you can relate, because the only person that can understand what you went through is yourself. Especially when the people say like, oh yeah, I understand how you feel, I was also left aside by my ex or something. And then, you know, they take other stories that has nothing to do what happened, even with abuse, and then it's like, you're like, no.
No, definitely. But going back to what we said before about a man's world and how men are blamed or said they are not strong enough or not, whatever. I feel like that's not only in how to deal with trauma, but also in so many other fields. Like if you think of men and mental health, which is something I've talked about several times before. And I think that's really, it's unfair, first of all, and think how much pressure and how much extra weight you have just because you have like society's pre-programmed rules of how you need to act and how you need to be, how from a young age we teach the boys, to be man up and don't cry and this and this and this, and this is wrong and this needs to change, because whether you are a woman or a man, rape is rape.
Yeah.
Being assaulted is being assaulted, being mugged is being mugged. It has nothing to do with gender. And I don't think strength is measured in, it has no connection.
Direction, but I still can see the toxic masculinity, how
Yes.
how it's still there. I feel like if we like talk, I think this is like a thing that will evolve with time. It's not something that you just do like this, unless you have the genie. Unless you have the genie, then I would say genie.
Mhm.
Take the rape culture away, the sexual assault, like the masculinity and everything.
But sorry, it's just, it's terrifying in a way, because with all of the things that you've mentioned, all of the things we've talked about, imagine being a man surrounded by, a male group of friends, or
Yeah, fine.
super, like, hey, sports and the typical stereotypical male where it's not really giving into emotions. You would never say like, hey guys, listen, I was sexually assaulted. And that means that you have to deal with all of that pain and all of that stress and that anxiety all by yourself, just because of how the other people are going to react. And that's
Oh yeah.
wrong.
Oh yeah, most of those people will be angry people, like frustrated, angry because they have this anger with them, and they think like it comes from their past relationships, but it comes from a whole other different points. And that's like what I see with a lot of people that haven't dealt and worked and healed. That's like a lot of people also told me like just switch the page, just change the page, and move on with your life. That's what my family used to say. And the thing that made me go to therapy so long and like work on so hard on myself was because I was like, I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be in 10 years or 20 years still bothered by this thing, by this sexual assault, because this is just one moment of my life. Okay, it was more than one moment of my life, but these moments that happened to me is just one of many stories. It's not the entire me, I'm more than just abused, there's much more than me being abused. That's not my whole character trait. And yes, it has impacted me and has created some traumas, but it's my responsibility to say, hey, I don't want let that define myself. So I need to work on it. And I don't have the tools. So let me look for someone that I can trust and that gives me the feeling they want to work with me and create, like skills and competences and just like this foundation where I can move on. And that's what for me was super important.
Your story is also further proof that we need to normalize therapy. We need to normalize having a conversation about mental health and get away from these very old-fashioned concepts of, oh my God, you're seeing a therapist, you're crazy. That therapy and being crazy, they are not connected in any way. And that adds to the pressure as well, where that will be an extra thing that you feel like you have to hide from your peers. Like, oh my goodness, imagine if they found out I was going to see a therapist. That's why it's, again, like you say, something we need to talk about and something we need to bring out into the open more.
I don't know one person that I would say doesn't need therapy. Small things can become such shit things in the future if you don't work on it.
But I think it sounds, to many people, it sounds so harsh if you say, oh, you should go to therapy because of this stereotype, yep. the straight jacket people who are completely screaming in their little, cells with no windows. But that's not what it is. What they don't know is that you sit in a room, you have a conversation. It's very ordinary and it should be seen as what it really is and not how it's depicted in movies.
Oh yeah, definitely. I always say that mine is totally different. I got chocolate from my therapist. He always buys my favorite Kinder chocolate. Because like when I talk about issues and it's like it's getting hard, I like to eat like a lot.
And in your social media, you upload reels and these videos dealing with these topics. And you recently uploaded a very great reel talking about what is no, when no means no.
No means no. Stop means no. I'm tired means no. Not now means no. I don't know means no. I'm not sure means no. I'm not ready means no. No doesn't mean convince me. If it's not a yes, it's not consent. You still didn't get it? Okay, let me repeat it again.
The people that I've reached with those videos, like it's crazy. Like it's like I'm still thinking about like 3,000 people. I can help one victim to change their perspective, or one person that knows about victims or their behavior, to change their behavior, to act differently, act more supportive instead of this guilty, negative like narrative. If I can change that, I've done my job. You need to demand as a victim and tell people how you want to be acted, because this conversation is not happening. This educational part is not happening. We are still blaming the victims. We are talking about it more, yes, but what did something change? No. We exploit this domain, and it's like it's a thing that it's in our culture embedded. Social media is not enough. You need to broaden up to education. That's like my favorite thing, like my dream. Like another thing Jeannie could do, maybe like put in education, that the educational system, school system, is not only to learn about math, physics, English, but it should have a course where you learn about abuse, where you learn about mental health, where you learn about social media, internet, because we still don't learn it. How much people it might have helped to learn what it means to be a decent human being, and how a decent human being acts and what it doesn't do. You know, I think that would have changed a lot of perspective of a lot of males and females.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this also in the bigger scope, like culturally as well. And the first thing that comes to my mind is something, again, related to the school system and sexual education, which is another very important thing. And that is a complete taboo in the Middle East, for example, to the point where I know somebody who did not understand that if you have sex without protection, you can get pregnant. And this person on her wedding night had sex and got pregnant. And she had no idea. And she was explaining to me how she was so angry at her husband because this was a complete shock. She was already newly married, a completely new life situation, and suddenly just getting pregnant, not knowing how. And this is things we have to talk about. Is it uncomfortable? Definitely, because in the Middle East, there is Islam, there is the culture, and you don't talk about sex, but you have to. And schools need to talk about it, because with sex comes the whole idea of having sex, of consent, of catcalling, which is another thing we've talked about. Where does the limit go where a comment goes to borderline harassment? What is the difference between a compliment and harassment? All of these things, and it's just like you say, none of these things are in the education system, but all of these things are things that we need much more than, you know, for me, mathematics or physics or stuff like that.
We're talking about the educational system, educate people. And education is not only in physics, math, and English. So I'm always thinking about myself. So if we would talk at schools about consent and do like works and show what consent looks like, what doesn't consent look like, peer pressure, how to escape peer pressure, or when someone acts off out of the team, how to talk to them or how to show them this is wrong, instead of being silent and just laugh with them. The stories that I heard just by sharing my race stories and hearing what other people went through is insane. Like when it comes to consent wise, that a boyfriend sexually abusing the girl during sleep and raping her during sleep, like having sex with her without even asking her, and he thought, oh, we already had previously sex, so it's
Yeah.
okay to have sex with her when she's sleeping.
Or
She
it's
probably would love
my
it.
partner, so you know it's fine.
Yeah,
We're together. No, it's not.
Yeah, partner. No, it's not fine. Like I have like really people that came to me and said like this happened to me.
And another thing also, I want to live in a world where when women come and bravely say, I was raped 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that the first reaction isn't, oh, but you waited a long time. Like, get
Oh
over
yeah.
it. And mostly it's the men saying, oh, but you know, such a long time ago, so dramatic, still just wants attention. That was another thing.
Oh
Just,
yeah.
you know, now, why come now? Because again, like we said before, unless you've been in that situation, you don't know how long it takes you to process it, how long it takes
Oh
you to
yeah.
be able to be comfortable to come forward and say, look, this happened to me. A last question I ask everybody: what is the dream?
My dream is that we live in a society that talks about rape culture like so openly that there is no slut shaming, there is no victim shaming, there is no protecting of the abuser, and there is education backed up.
You're not alone. The majority of the people have experienced harassment in some form. It's the sad truth. So you're not alone, and together as a group, instead of saying, oh my God, she was asking for it, he's lying, whatever, if we stick together, then we can go forward.
Exactly.
Ivan, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story with us. And everybody, please go follow Ivan on Instagram. And Ivan is on TikTok as well. So go follow him there. Honestly, all the best for everything that you're going through and everything that is to come. All the best, because you deserve the best. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, guys. Please hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back very soon for another episode of Same, Same, But Different. Thank you, and bye.